listening to The Big Album Show with Paul Dillon and Dan O'Neill. Hello, Diagweev and Fáilte Isteach on Big Album Show. Le Misha Dan.
Agus it's Misha Paul.
Hello and welcome to The Big Album Show. It's unusual that we're speaking anything other than English at the start of the episode, but you're going to find out why we're doing that now, because today we are talking about an unconventional band with a unique sound, all performed in Irish. We're talking about their newest album, Fáilte Isteach, and according to their press release that they sent me, I think it gives a great account of the album. It says, lyrically, the album covers many different themes, from a call to action against intolerance, xenophobia and racism, to the highly unrealistic environment of social media with imagery and profiles depicting perfection. But ultimately, the message of the album is to celebrate the small, beautiful things, the everyday and shared life, as expressed on their first single from the album, The Quid Jeans. And we are absolutely thrilled to welcome to the show Pádraig, MC Muipéad, Ó Conghaile and Cian Mac Cárthaigh. How's it going?
Excellent. Great to hear, Pod. And thanks a million for doing the introduction in Irish. That's nice to hear. Really nice to hear.
You've gone bilingual. Delighted.
Yeah, it's a big day for the Big Album Show. Okay,
you could probably get a grant for that.
Oh, I'd say
we'll do us afterwards. We'll sort you out for that now.
Well, to be honest, lads, that's the only reason we have you on the show. I'm only joking. Here, talk to me. I want you to talk to me about, first of all, where you're from, how the band started, and just tell us a little bit about why I suppose you decided to sing in Irish, if that question can be asked.
No, it totally can. Cian, please go ahead. You can do your bit, and then I'll drop in.
Pádraig can do it. Yeah. Okay, where are we from? God, Pádraig, he's from Conamara, where he is right now. I'm a man of many places, born in Canada, family off from Cork, lived there, moved to Dublin, lived in Meath, back in Dublin. So who knows? I'm Dublin at this stage. And IMLÉ, why we start, we'd have different reasons for it. Like, IMLÉ started as a sort of collective, really. From my point of view, I was playing in loads of bands down through the years, at a band called the 39s, a band called Wild Promises, and as it happened, we started getting asked to do a lot of gigs in Irish, because we had translated some of our songs to Irish, and a great DJ, radio presenter Ríona Mac Cárthaigh from Donegal would organise events up in Gweedore, and at any kind of festival, St. Patrick's Festival, Electric Picnic, he'd be putting on gigs in Irish. So we were doing these gigs as Gaeilge where we were translating the tunes, and we were probably getting more gigs in Irish than we were in English. And I was kind of a bit frustrated because I think we were just doing bad translations, after a while, because I thought it was a bit lazy. So I always would have been listening to Welsh bands like Super Furry Animals and Gorky's and even Catatonia's early stuff, and then even weirder Welsh music. I kind of went down a rabbit hole of that stuff, and I was like, well, look, they're all doing this. We really should be, just writing from scratch as Gaeilge. So I just started a new project, which eventually became IMLÉ, and the original idea would be different singers in each song. It was Gorillas as Gaeilge. That was my original idea. Nice. And Fergal, who was in Dirty Nines, was involved in it, and there was other people such as Marcus getting involved in it. And at the same time, when it came to rap music or that thing in Irish that I was looking for, it was MC Muipéad, Pádraig, who our paths had crossed at gigs, and we'd played on a radio show out in Ayr Square in the freezing cold together. So I knew of Pádraig. But as I was working on getting the first IMLÉ thing off the ground, at the same time, Pádraig happened to be working on the same radio station as me in Dublin. So that's how Pádraig got involved in it. But my background would be very different, suppose, in the sense that I went to a Gael school, so I didn't grow up speaking Irish. But I did want to make this authentic thing in Irish. So having the likes of Pádraig involved, I think, was very important. And it was a nice kind of coincidence that we were in the same place at the same time, really.
Yeah. And me getting into music was a bit of an accident, full stop, really. As me genuinely giving it a punt and trying to put myself, just like doing stuff publicly, not necessarily putting myself out there. So yeah, as Cian said, I'm from Conamara, and when I moved into town when I was 17 to go to college and just to flake around, basically doing next to nothing except hanging out with your mates. Loads of my friends were DJs, and they'd DJ it started off when we were really young, and it was like techno and drum bass, and then we progressively got into hip hop probably like 2 years after starting that. And then a few friends that I made were MCs, and there was one lad, Sebby C, and he used to do with DJ Tom, and he used to MC over his drum bass sets, and he was just unbelievable. And I just kind of fell in love with kind of the rhythms that and the energy that he would, like, I suppose, impart. And I just wanted to be kind of like that, and the fact that I did it in Irish, also another kind of a fluke thing. I was raised in Conamara, and Irish is my first language, but when I first tried to write raps or rhymes or ciphers, I tried to do it in English, and then I rapped for Sebby C, and he listened to us, and he was nodding, he was like really polite, and just going like, yeah, man, that's not bad, which is fine, because that's your first time ever doing it. And I was like, okay, that's not too bad. And he was like, is there anything else you do? And then I was like, yeah, I've got half a, and then I quickly understood. I'm like, oh God, that must have been not very good. And then I was like, I have half a kind of I've got a verse and a bit in Irish. And he was like, in Irish? And I'm like, yeah, cool, man, give that a shot, man. I want to hear it. Because he speaks German and English, so I think I didn't really twig that he'd basically want to hear it, but he did. He said, yeah, go for it, and I did it. And I immediately, even though it wasn't polished, it wasn't particularly great, he was nah, man, that's you, that's your voice, that's what you need to be doing. That's until you find it in the English, just to start with that, go with that. And that's how it basically started. And then I remember the GPO in Galway, absolutely plastered out of my mind. The place was Rammers. Was the first time I ever rapped in front of an audience, and I absolutely got stociously drunk because I was such a nervous wreck. I was just so afraid of bombing, but I needn't have feared. I didn't bomb. I nearly tried to hog the mic and try to go again with basically the same lyrics. I only had a minute and a half, and I was like, I want to go again. They're like, nah, man, you can't do it again. That was it. It's good though. Fair play.
It's so interesting to hear how both of you, your background. And I really enjoyed, I was saying to Dan yesterday, when I was getting deeper into your music, I really enjoyed the fact that I found it difficult to say what this music is exactly. Because, people put on a podcast like ours, everything's getting put in a box, and it comes in the box and you've got your take and says, I can hear so many, I can hear the influences, bands like Massive Attack, I can hear Ian Brown, I can hear so many different sounds, and I mean, you mentioned there, was it Keane? Isn't it Gruff Rice is the singer?
Yeah, he's a lovely
yeah.
guy. Yeah, he's cool.
And
yeah.
yeah, didn't he do a lot of Welsh language music maybe 15, 20 years ago? And he again it wasn't again very hard to pigeonhole and put in a box. I'm wondering, you've both mentioned some of your influences. Could you delve a little bit more deeply into that for us? So, for example, for this album, where are you drawing on a particular set of influences, or was there different bands and groups and artists in mind? Do you have a kind of a list of places that you draw inspiration from?
Well, yeah, I guess. Do we ever talk about it though? Like, we don't sit down and do up a list of like, okay, this week although we did maybe once or twice, but yeah, everything for this album, off the top of my head, just more about beats and things like that. Frank Ocean, it was definitely that Blonde album. XX always, I think, just for some of the sounds. It was more electronic. We were going, well, it took a long time, this album as well. So there was a lot of different influences. I don't know.
I'm not a very good person at like Cian asks me to like describe things in sometimes to give examples like of something. If I'm trying to like, if I have a vibe in mind, he'll ask me to use examples to try and help him get to the same place where I'm thinking from at that very moment. I always struggle with that. And I just got such, I don't know, an unorganized mind when it comes to creative stuff. It's probably really unhelpful to anyone who works with me. But Cian does try really hard to like organize me. But
I'm trying to think. Mount Kimby, we're playing that. Like, we kind of and like it's all a bit of a, I think actually, it's this. Yeah.
Dan, Paul, I have to ask you. Buchet Jeans. I had there was a vibe that I wanted to kind of get across there, and it was like the theme tune to Narco. So I started listening to that separately. And like, I don't know if you guys ever think that that's even remotely like it, but in my head, it is. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone else has really gotten
that's cool.
that.
I kind of I remember. Yeah, we had to. That was before we went to do that. And we went down to Wexford, guy Darren, and he want that. A lot of producers now want that. It's almost like with films. If you're selling a movie, like, what is it? And you're like, oh, it's like Lethal Weapon meets Runaway Bride. Someone's trying to sell a show. So with songs, people want like references. So we did that, and I remember the Narcos one. Yeah.
No, I can hear now that you say it.
I can hear it if you listened. But the obscure kind of thing, or not obscure, but the non-obvious one is good because gets you thinking at least. If we all just went in and said, oh, we just all want to sound like Oasis or something like that, nothing's anything wrong. I'm sure people do that, but it's good to be told. That's why it's so hard to pigeonhole us, I suppose, which is a bad time. We're at the wrong time maybe in the world, because now it's all about exact what is your sound, so you can get put on a playlist on Spotify or whatever. But our thing is like one song is trip hop and the next one's folk or something, so it can be tricky.
I love it, and I think it's incredibly interesting, and I think it's so interesting, Pádraig, what you're saying about that. It's almost like an unconscious creative process. It's not conscious. It's not totally aware of itself. I know I'm off in a tangent here, but this is what I wanted to ask you both, because I'm intrigued by the title of the album, Fáilte Isteach. So when I first heard it, Dan, myself were talking about it, I was thinking about Dunica Doolin, you remember?
Fáilte Isteach.
Yeah, Fáilte Isteach. Yeah.
Close
And then,
the door after you.
there's Fáilte Isteach, which is a kind of a community NGO organization working with people, I think, older people teaching English and so on. And then, of course, Fáilte Isteach being the sort of two words that everybody knows in English, welcome in. And I love it. And I love the way it's the first track on the album as well, which is a track I really love. But I'm just, and again, Fáilte Isteach is so welcoming and warm as well, because when we're talking about the Irish language, I feel it's completely changed. The culture around Irish is so much more user-friendly now. It's that, everybody is welcome, I feel. Whereas before, this is just my perception. When I was growing up, I didn't have that feeling about the Irish language, but maybe that was just me. It's not a judgment. But tell me, where did this title, this idea, this concept of Fáilte Isteach, where did it come from?
Oh, yeah. Well, the song title existed and the song was recorded long before we were even finalizing the album. When I say long before, it's maybe 3.5 years. And we were working actually quite hard on like trying to figure out what a title, because the debut album was just self-titled, so that was very easy, and we joke about it as being lazy, but it was like, we just figured it as a first album that was good. But anyway, this time around we spent ages. Like, I even asked like poets that I know, I'm like, do you have any suggestions? I just wanted to see if they would suggest something really good or make me think about it in a different way. And when you ask someone's advice, sometimes it's not necessarily that you want them to spoon feed you. You just want to pressurize yourself into thinking a little bit sharper because you're asking them for advice. You know what I mean? We had a list, I don't know, we probably had like 60 titles. And eventually it came back to, I'm like, what, the best title for this is Fáilte Isteach. It embodies nearly everything that we want people to feel when they like listen to our music. Like, just Fáilte Isteach, like, come welcome in and like enjoy yourself. You know what I mean? It's just, we try really hard not to be judgmental and precious, or to be possibly one could say possibly the old school of like correcting people. I'm like, it's the last thing we want to do. Like, our creations are nearly like one accident after another, and we do our best to shape that into something digestible and meaningful, without getting too pretentious. And like the fact that I mentioned earlier in the conversation about like, the music being approachable, being fun, and not having to understand all the lyrics. That is something we've actually been saying since we started with IMLÉ. It just so happens that, we like to do our stuff through Irish, but like making it digestible, just listenable, even if you don't have Irish, that was always on the agenda.
And you've definitely succeeded in that. Tell me this, did you have any kind of silly names for the album that on the list that you kind of look back on and go?
I think he forecast them there. I think we're just calling it the Cian and Pádraig show. I don't know what we have. It's.
Oh no! Wait! You talk ahead right there.
I'm trying to remember one. I remember Scotty headers, which I liked actually.
Scotty headers.
Scotty, it was a bunch of headers. Headers, which is a phrase they say up in Donegal. Scotty headers and
there was the one actually I didn't even tell Cian. It's Sumog, SU for the M, O for the G, which is like a sip of something, like nice. A small sip of something. Sumog, but that's a word I just came across. It's like you hear something or you find something that you like, and then you just mull it over and try and reverse engineer it into like working, or fitting. And I don't think that's a disingenuous way to approach things. You know what I mean? Like, geez, where would we all be without like basically picking up knowledge from all around us? So, you know what I mean? I think the order of how that happens is totally, you know what I mean, up to interpretation. Do what you want.
It was cool with Fáilte Isteach because that is the first. Was probably the first song without us knowing it that we wrote for the album, really. And I remember it came together. Well, it didn't, and we had to record a million times. Then we went back to the demo and used mostly the demo. But in the demo, it was a subconscious kind of thing. We were just jamming, and you just started singing like Fáilte Isteach, like it's that. It was one of the first things, I think.
I've got a list. I've got a list. Do you want me to just say all these in a row just to see how varied and mad?
Bang them out. Why not?
Which one will be album 3?
Can you kind of rap them? Can you?
Well, I'll probably end up doing that anyway. So the first one I got here, and by the way, the title to this list is Tedal Tamian Buns Metis. So titles, themes, and basic principles, I guess, or basic thoughts. Conabloch Sihir Flochbáte, Síiste Báte, na Fichidí, Síiste Mara, Tate Síiste, Cruadodi, Conabloch Uide, Ruher and Lay, Ruher Ella, de Ruher, Shilu the Ruher, Termish, Tuncher and the Ruher, Rongsnova, Ruher Einer. Obviously, I went on a bit of a Ruher phase there. Skafte, Frieds and Skafte, Skafte Hurana, gafte ildate, dunskafte, makna, biek sula, cartoon the sula, clunade. Oh my God, I could keep going. Donachon the sul more, imocht la scode, shoal, mictida, poor daffy, scalpachut, Tallaslawn. Tallaslawn was actually a big maybe for a while. Yeah. But I think that was just us to feel safe in ourselves. So that was the one we hung on to for a little bit. Yeah, because you're always unsure yourself when you're like releasing something like an album. You're just like, oh, what if everyone thinks it's rubbish? So yeah, we hung on to that one for a while as a working title. There's like 20 more. There's even like Forza in there. Like, I have no idea. You know,
we should take them all and put them alphabetical order and do like our own alphabet aerobics. You're the Black Delicious song.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's actually, it's got an idea for a song there. So
do it quick
tomorrow.
Before
we should test that out at the gig. I'll just put together a blip.
Brilliant. Love it. Right. The next part of our show is one in which we all pick our 3 favorite tracks on the album. So we just go around, and I know it can be kind of weird for the acts we have on the show when they have to pick their own songs. But I mean, you're amongst friends here, you know. So maybe I'll start with maybe we'll give ours first, and then you can come in and kind of give a more in-depth look into the songs. So Paul, do you want to start? Yeah.
Yes, I'll happily go first. I'm going to go with this is always a bit tricky to choose 3. So these are these are Tommy Ray. So I'll go. I'm always a bit nervous when I'm on where we're on with artists in case they give out and say no, that's not the one. But I'm going to go with Aid because I love the video. Frankly, I'm going to show my hand. You know what I mean? It's just got to be honest. I mean, we're being very honest as pod. It gets me on the video. I was sold quickly, so I'm going to Aid my top track, right? The Quid Jeans is my number 2 because I just think it's so clever and catchy, and you hear it once and again. You know, I really love a track that you can hear once and remember it. I remember the first time you heard it.
de goed groeien a chor tin hele ni in my garage nu dat do e kokero nor tom may ray son a soul fecky me on team dear when law oh so chor
I'm going to go with Fáilte Isteach as my third track because I feel that warmth and that welcoming vibe. It's very much, I love the idea of an opening track of an album kind of defining a band's sound. And that's hard to do with you guys, obviously. But I do think it maybe, if you don't mind me saying, almost does define your approach. And I definitely felt that welcoming warmth vibe off it straight away. So they're my top 3 anyway, Dan. What do you think?
Well, 2 of those are also in my top 3. So Aid is an incredible song. I just love it. I love Róisín Seoighe's voice on it. I love the sound of the guitar. I know it's like just a straight up pretty clean guitar, but just the way it's produced sounds incredibly fresh, incredibly, if it's not a bad thing to say, it sounds incredibly commercial, you know. It's a song that I think no. I mean it in a good way. It should be on every radio station, I think, because it has the potential to be, you know, a number 1 track. Yeah, certainly in Ireland, but maybe further afield, because it's just so catchy. And even when you can't understand all the words, you know, you find yourself singing along to it. I love the Quid Jeans. I think it sounds exactly like the song from Narcos. No, I'm only joking. I think the video for that is really good as well. I love the way you kind of, I don't know, I'm sure you were thinking of this whole, Zoom thing during COVID, perhaps, we actually had a band on a few weeks ago called Sounds of Systems Breakdown, and they have a similar video. But your one, I like your one because I like their one as well, but I like your one, the way it includes YouTubers from the kind of Irish speaking world. I kind of noticed that, I think, but it's a really, really cool video. And then I love Erbish as well. I think it's probably definitely the loop in it sounds kind of maybe the most kind of traditionally hip hop, if you know what I mean. That kind of piano. I thought Dr. Dre was going to come in one part of the song. No, I love it as well. So they're my top three. What about you, lads? Do you want to start, Cian?
All right, cool. Well, yes. Oh, okay. This is like picking between your kids and stuff like that.
Sophie's choice.
I shouldn't have had that many kids. Sorry. So, I'll go out. Okay, I'll just go a bit. Like, obviously, yeah, love that. That's great. And so I just as a kind of another one. I love the Fáilte Isteach remix by Karl Odlum. That was just real because it's just very techno-y and kind of I just like that. We had nothing to do with that really. I think trying to think. You said I would give Cahna Dil to O'Hosna a shout as well because I love Pádraig's lyrics and that are quite interesting.
An bhfuil runde haise cínta go le rit an bhfuil gasúda a gunnean is chum bhí me secailte go má faoi cho ó hin agus tá bu go bhfuil cho le hósláin leis.
And I like the way we did. I kind of look at the way we put them together, and I just really enjoyed Cahna Dil to O'Hosna. And I like the brass, kind of fake brass that we put into it. We managed to get away with it without it being too cheesy, I hope. So yeah, Cahna Dil to O'Hosna, Fáilte Isteach remix, and Duck with Jeans. So you have to have Duck with Jeans.
Brilliant.
Okay, for me, I will get the first one out of the way because it's probably one we have all in common, or we've all said there's Duck with Jeans. Really love that tune. Loved making it, loved playing it. It's just such a nice tune, and it was a bit of a departure for me, so that I guess learned things to try and just get my head to that place. The second one is actually like Cian, and I love the original, but the remix that Karl did of Fáilte Isteach was a real surprise, and it kind of brought me back to like Acid House wasn't even something that we really mixed way back when I was a young teenager, but I remember loads of older DJs who did, and they talked about it, and it kind of brought me back to that time a little bit. So I at the moment, and this, if you ask me again in 2 weeks, it might change. But that's the second one. And the third one, because it was monumentally important, I think, for me anyway, and I think probably for Cian too, because like there was a period when we thought like IMLÉ wouldn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Everyone had things to do. Life was taking over, professions, etc. And Dúishin with Suas was a really important song for us. So in the sense of we learned to use like DAWs, and we learned how to like basically produce, at a musician or at our level, how to produce elements of the song to try and make a whole. And we got it to a stage where we could actually send it to Karl, and Karl was able to clean it up a little bit, and he made Dúishin with Suas. We made Dúishin with Suas, and like it took us a long time to make Dúishin with Suas, and it's such a happy tune for me. And And then I suppose just to follow up, and it's not that it's my favorite, but Hop Skip Lame came immediately after Dúisín with Zeus in terms of making it, writing it, creating it. And Hop Skip Lame happened really quickly, and that's just because of all the lessons we learned doing Dúisín with Zeus. And that was the first time me and Cian had major say so, just on that side of production. Like, obviously we always gave ideas and it came to a session with ideas, but it used to be Fergal Moloney that used to basically, he was the whiz kid and he was the one that always did everything in terms of production on I think it was Logic that he was using. And yeah, so that was, you know what I mean, that was a big part of our learning journey. And thankfully now we're in a place where we can continue to make the tunes that we want to make, and you know, keep learning and keep having fun with that.
Well, thank God for that, because we want to hear the music, you know, continuing to flow. And Dúisín with Zeus, that's a call to action. Tell me a little bit about the lyrics of that song.
Yeah, like, I guess, like, without getting too preachery, and like, you know, I think it's just basically like, I just growing up in a small country, and you've got like small like patches of communities everywhere, and I guess it's trying to just like call out intolerance, you know what I mean? All intolerance, you know what I mean? As in, just because you're not familiar with something doesn't mean you should throw stones at it, you know what I mean? Yeah, and I just, yeah, there's just no, like anything, you know, like, you know, a taxi driver, you know, the old like cliche of like, I'm not racist, but, and you're just like, oh, Jesus Christ, what are you going to say now? Like, what is going to qualify you? Why is that qualifying what you're going to say next? And it's like, Christ. I just don't really see, listen, I think, like, you know what I mean? We're all the same. We're all going to mix. You know what I mean? Here. That's, I think,
No, I think that's spot on, and particularly in light of, you know, what we've seen, what you said there, Pádraig, about intolerance. It's you know, particularly, you know, like what we've seen maybe recently about, you know, trans community, and you know, there's a lot of intolerance floating around out there, isn't there? You know, and I like that idea of calling it out and standing up for it, and as Dan said, a call to action. It's really, really good, and it makes you sort of maybe feel a little bit accountable. You maybe, you know, oh, what should I do? You know, so I think that's really, really good that you're incorporating that.
Yeah,
it's hard to do. It's hard to do it well as well, which is, so it's kind of a good, you know, because it can, if it's not produced or said correctly or written right, it can just go terribly wrong. So that's why I was really proud of that track as well, that it, you know, we got that message across.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, well, the next part is the part where nothing could possibly go wrong. It's where myself and Dan speak in Irish. So obviously the answers will be in Irish as well. So bear with us if you are Berla only, okay? Because we're just going to have a little bit of fun with this and ask a couple of very simple questions. Os Gaeilge, or will tú Ray Buckley?
Tomwood.
Ray!
Okay. What happened to Fui Oasis agus Blur? Cé is fearr leat?
Just an issue, lo the hell. It's far more Blur a bhí inimsa agus mé malado. Hanya Oasis go mór impression, but bhí chola friggin' mad fui Oasis. Himple Saganter Ross Nissan. And Ceap mis go mis different me or Hanya Blur lum, but like, you know what I mean? You step out of your bubble and you realize, I'm like, oh no, gazillions of people like Blur. There's nothing different about that. But Blur humsa, Cape and Gate.
Mishamar Gaina Blur has Malum Oasis, Malum Bonehead, it's Malum Liam McSnow, Pravalum Dula Gold Lobe, I'm Egan, but Blur, oh man, Blur mo group, Shin Antain Bonakil like the Gawk album agum, agus fi chunker morig Blur or Modern Life is Rubbish, Shin Candan album is Farlum, agus Hahan on Chlorlum, Rinishiv Chlor le Modern Fui Blur on Cuigo album, Rinishiv Leisure come up, but Deishme Leshan Podcrailer Rinishiv Fui Blur, because we should just Gadas Vegation Clash, even Lum Blur. Gawkila Law.
So we have a consensus there. If you were Berla only, that it is Blur. Now, again, these questions are offbeat, so bear with us. Ar will tú ag dul gadi nave no ifrin?
Brahan sé má chredan tú in a lehéid. Tá mi sé tá pár cad capan tú cóil tú ag dul. Who's no híos?
Cóil mi sé dul. Well,
yeah.
Listen, like tá mi sé in ifrin a gúni agus sinátí chréachtas me suas freisin. Tá mé mága, like, is blálum gohfuil creide ag daine agus sílim gohfuil sé gomíon creidí ag daine and go bonusach go hondúil dylan se pobl níos sór agus níos fullaine ní malaman aglis ní malaman tíb daine go bheith rachtal nu bheith a bhail cinál creidí but mi agam a sinnicúil derma ifrim.
Tá daine ní simúla an ifrim beidir ach tá mi sé gurí tácht arás mar madra. So ceim sin bhelum sé tá mi sé gurí bheith a wadra an film a bheith mar budas agus a rag a juki mé rás mar madra. Cean mór, like St. Bernard nor there, cean atá ag Michael D, cean don na madri sin. For me's metandach.
That's absolutely terrific. For people who are Berla only, that question was: are you going to heaven or are you going to hell? And the last one, again, these are just pure fun. Or will to we go tea, no cafe?
Ooh. Oh God, yeah. Goodie set of blian o hen. You're in cafe, coffee, a gulni, like as in it's blolum coffee. To my goal coffee o vi me 8 million a dish be honig me offer it ash on rank agus rinnishi coffee la loads banya te. So coffee log, but like la banya te and la rosnunuk shukra just hits my rollish. And to my goal coffee o hen. But Olum tea in the line show freshen. But coffee over him.
Coffee. Kaisha cafe, coffee. Akawan. To my brain then cafe show a tar fall. To Misha Malia Clea in Marigan a Ferma. Smithfield. It's feel like gana coffee. Just to Misha Gerg on coffee on Idol. Ak ein ornish to she Nilan Blas Kana. It's a coffee is a V. To she on Cad the airport, Zurich, nor the Tashe Neil Che Codas as a V. So the Michigan Shan coffee on rank, only at all. Shishin Moch,
Yeah.
Rawa.
I suppose to my goal plug a hurt skill Lavata, but Skolum Lavata.
Tomud Arahag Lavata, Mata Lavata Giri Uriok to Hort the IMLÉ, Tom Cortella. Only with Lavata, Gokula Law.
Gormagiv.
Okay, 3 questions o Misha, right? So, now I'm going to make a mess of this, so stick with me. Do meach superpower a bhána goibh? Cad a bheith ann?
Etald.
Céim fá?
Mar Tom with a tastal or etal on number agus Tom with a down the masha don timpliocht agus Tom the glut on down. This got afro aerod agus with the martian so vehan noun etalt me hain so vehan noun just dull to bear smeanlum. Tastal like goodie and spawn the parrot. So she needs far doing Martin number cadini tastal air etalon on tamer fod agus she den of the mashta them down. So volumes to then etalt.
God, Dan, on Dakar, near Howler make my superpower a real agus sé Batman and superhero Sorlum agus Neil and superpower I should have heard. Okay, I think teleportation.
Okay, came for
teleportation. Because Nervi makes Sweeney or change shade on the rhythm. So near my garva into like lodger, near my garva man. Regeneration is an interesting one, but like Jesus, the do smell a polgrim are really cynical. So you know what I mean. I'm like if all men garva bow gado, what? Even non-gol hit them. Teleportation. Take a knock, Ní miol na rudi a dút céan, but I suppose date fan fragra sin nach chur, I suppose it go rare leis.
Yeah, be more fragra kin to make you down a hall just to make you even now etalt,
Okay, and K the Leach is mo agus came for.
Oh God.
Like
Oh
anyone.
yeah, bím sé gunní ag strachelt lena ceisting seo. Like céir é an ór an is sárla, céir é an scone on a Santa lot. You know, it's just like, oh man. Oh, na rí man ní sóige like the cool Kate na rí man ní sóige. I'm like, is abu donna cool Kate, but like na rí man really is geish la rap like Hanny cool Kate, Tanya ODB lum. God, yeah. I don't know. I think we'll go your dini maha a munchin. August, yeah. Ni dinner ma me a ground new dinner one, lech one. But yeah, I'm like that. Jeez, the Aiden on is like Katie Taylor. You know, August, yeah. Ni manan ach I walla. August and maids a young chick is chig and numprin she hain. Like Jesus, Ledge friggin' McGregor, like you know, fair play hope, but like it's Amadon and Latchin, like absolute blues. Like but you know what I mean? That means more arrogance on take it. So what can you know? Yeah, that frigate. Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor.
Okay, well Rocky Mitchell account Kyo, tá sé Dakar, like, but just on my own of you get agus Lanshay air then of Rudda Hastaway and of Agoni, so Rory Gallagher, just Mark guitar, just Rory Gallagher, just a bit Marv, obviously it's us corking Mwongs me. I know tá Rory Gallagher's doing them all come up, but you know, Canny Shay Cade guitar a Gorky Crowley's Tommy Kappa, August Canny Mission Muckade guitar and chin come on, Marvy hug me Yado me on chin Kunay, so Rory Gallagher, just lek.
Excellent. Okay. Agus tá an ceist seo ó na lads a TG Car, and I think you know which one this is going to be. So, well, máthas bit mí casa agus é fluch.
Tá siad tá lábha níos ládra, mar tá siad I don't know, Neil in our era, tá siad níos fear rihan sarig, like nar aonn sé fluch. Tá Macassa like bhí mé mar cool boire go minic agus bhí sé gohanis nar bhí na Macassas armas feic sé curbáistí and you're just like tá the lava ní féidir no Níl ach fós just mar rud fashiún agus tá de géir seo bhrú chun cín ba ceart go níos mó daoine just Macassas a cathab you know just mar amach tá sé tá rud ag an fuú
accessory maithe yeah, absolutely. Mikasa useless. Agus a bosteach. Like nismasna useless liability. Quinaclum fiach paid Mikasas. Because like you know needs to really oga gimmert pell cap and do get dastin like ruddy wet. Like so being like excess. You know being mitogeat being boots trailing two boots cool all or done two earach like you know what I mean to play the part like you know fake it till you make it type of thing. Macassas like and Kivna is smashed to the so Macassas may ni soige free gimmert free hey egg na rid mar sin na vi shan fair Macassar am gone ein elastic fuel and earn the wristy himpler na wristy and chin so we should like just constantly exlaunu go ma chud lava agus like you know vi ma chud count on a ni chahin ream na mito give vi ma fos gar immert slope like I don't know yeah Macassas kinol Kongana like kidney seal shin pad nachyun an ein heel but foes fan and chalat, you know. Probably me all should be useless.
It's been a real pleasure to have you both on the pod, on the Big Album Show, and myself and Dan are very grateful that you've taken the time, and we really want to wish you all the best with the record and all the best with everything that happens in your future. We would like certainly to see you guys live. I know there's a number of shows coming up. You might just tell us what you have planned in terms of what's coming up for you guys, where people can catch you, and yeah, that'd be great if you could let us know.
We will, yeah. So, well, this is going out Sunday, so we'll have played a gig last night in Galway, our first one in a while. We'll be in Kerry if anyone's in Ballybunion on the 23rd of July. We're playing the Ballybunion Arts Festival, so looking forward to that. We'll have more dates coming up then in like October, November. We're confirmed we're going to be playing up in Belfast on the 14th of October. in Áras Rockton. There's the Belfast Arts Festival as well. So we're playing at that. And there will be a Dublin gig in a venue that's very close to our heart. So we'll be announcing that very soon, hopefully, as well. And it's a nice one, and we've played there before. So that's our first, because we haven't gigged in quite a few years, as Pádraig was saying. We took us a long time we've learned how to record, how to produce, and now the next stage is taking it live and playing in front of a crowd. So we're looking forward to doing that, and we appreciate the support we've got from you guys as well. So thanks a million.
You're very, very welcome, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, Gurav Magwiv, guys.
You're listening to The Big Album Show with Paul and Dan. Please remember to subscribe, hit like, and remember to follow us on our social media platforms at The Big Album Show.